All right, found it. Praise the Lord. All right, man. How you guys doing? We're gonna try to get this done today, Lord willing. Maybe talk about budget too. Budget too. So we mentioned briefly a minute ago about your vision. Where are you gonna go? What are you gonna do? Who are you gonna benefit? Basically, where are you gonna go? What are you gonna do? Who are you gonna benefit? We had a couple illustrations there, but so what is your schedule to accomplish your vision? And this is what gets funded. Ultimately, fundraising, ministry partner development is to fund the schedule for you to do what needs to be done. Now, funding the schedule includes a multitude of things, but it's just a simple way to understand uh, what is the point of the money. What is the point? You've got a job, you're working. Why do you need people to donate to you so you can do something? You've got a schedule because you need the time. You need the time to do the work to benefit the people. That's the way it works. You're ultimately people when they donate to you, they're buying your time. This great substitution between you working for somebody else and coming over to being a full-time missionary is an exchange of who's funding your schedule, basically. And when you're over working for another company, they're funding your schedule. I mean, you're coming to work for them, but they're also funding your life and your stuff you do as well as a family, or if you're going out preaching on the weekend or you're going on mission trips, they're funding that. Same idea, nothing more difficult than that. It's not really more complicated than that. So the schedule is what gets funded. And so this is where to focus on what gets funded. See, a lot of times we talk about these things, and it's true. We want to preach the gospel for the glory of God and sinners redeemed and all of these big theological, scriptural, eternal ideas. That is very true. But that is not specific enough for someone to get funded to go on a mission trip and to be full time in these things. You have to break it down. Got to break it down. Got to be specific on what you're doing and why. And so this sounds oftentimes unspiritual, very pragmatic, practical. Those are dreaded words, aren't they? But that's just the reality of it. We do, as human beings, we do very specific things. You have a house. You're married to a woman. You have a car. You have children with names. Very specific stuff. You like to do this. You don't like to do that. You have a favorite theologian. You like a certain part of the Bible. And we live in a life of specifics. We don't live in the generalities. But some reason in this kind of work, we get into generalities a lot of times. The glory of God and the salvation of sinners raised from the dead and all. I love it, man. I love that so much. I love talking that way. I love preaching about that and becoming a new creature and all these things that Paul talks about. Redeemed by the blood, man, we're going forever. But when it comes down to communicating to somebody, what are you going to do? What do they need to fund? And who are you trying to benefit here? You got to be really, really specific. So the schedule is a way to get specific. So for me, you almost have to use me as an example. When I was living in Atlanta, essentially single, and I was preaching all day long, honestly. I'd be somewhere at 7 a.m. and I would stay probably out till 7 p.m. I would preach from 7 to 9 a.m. somewhere, take a break, go basically from kind of 10 to 2-ish, catch the lunch crowd somewhere, and then catch an evening thing as well, 5 to 7. So you're talking 7 to 9, let's call it 10 to 2, that's 6 hours, 2 hours at the end of the day. That's 8 hours of preaching every day. And I can tell you where I went. I went to the Georgia World Congress Center. They had business conferences down there. The Georgia Dome was down there where they had the Falcons stadiums and big concerts. You had Centennial Park where they had festivals and concerts in Centennial Park. You had Piedmont Park, and Piedmont Park was where they had big multiple day festivals, arts festivals. Gay Pride was there, music festivals, stuff like that. Had Hi-Fi Boz Amphitheater concert place. You had Phillips Arena where the Hawks played, where they had concerts as well. So I can articulate where I went and where I stood, how long I was there. Typically, as an example, to be specific, if I was going to a Falcons game, kickoff at 1 o'clock, I was there sitting down by 9:30. I would stay from 9:30 to 1:30. See, that you have to get specific. What is your schedule? Do I ride the MARTA into town? Do I drive into town? These kind of things, because the driving, the transportation for me as a missionary in the city, riding the MARTA, again, when I was single and doing this work, put me in a position to be around people, riding the MARTA, walking to the bus stop. God taught me to get around people. And that was one reason I needed to be, quote, full time, so I could be around people as an evangelist. And I remember I'd get up early and go to the Joe Muggs coffee shop and use the Wi-Fi and drink their coffee and witness to people. People would see me at Joe Muggs who recognized me from preaching the Falcons game. See, this is being specific, breaking it down. What was my vision? Well, like I said before, ultimately I just was trying to follow what the Lord was guiding. But when I articulate it, I was going to do what I'm doing now, preaching the gospel at major community outdoor events. Preaching the gospel. I was a mobilized evangelist to preach the gospel at major outdoor community events. And that's major included a certain number of people, 5,000 or more. Outside, I wasn't trying to set up meetings in a church, and I could articulate like I just did where the outdoor venues at. And so in Atlanta, also you had Peachtree. There were certain times when you have parades downtown. I would go downtown and preach there by the Hard Rock Cafe on Peachtree. I forget what the crossing street is. I think it's Alexander Andy Young Boulevard. So July the 4th, big day, Centennial Park. We'd also go preach up at Lenox Square for the fireworks that stand by the MARTA exit. You see, you got to break it down and think specifically. I'd be there if they had fireworks, I'd get out there like at noon. I was out there forever. I lived around the corner, basically, in a basement. So, see, you start to break it down. And all of a sudden people say, hey, this guy's actually out doing something every day, and let me contribute to his work because I see what he is doing. See, that's how to think about it. I see what he's doing. And my emails, my communicational rhythm were about me being out and about. They weren't about me, hopefully. That's what I did. See what I'm saying? What's your schedule? You're going to plant a church. Remember the Hickson example in the last video. You're going to plant a church in the Hickson community in Chattanooga. That's what you want to do. And you want Hickson, Tennessee to be a Christian community. All right. What is your schedule to do that? What are you going to do every day to get that done? That's what I mean. I'm telling you what I did every day where I went to Atlanta to be a missionary in the city and proclaim Christ to major outdoor community events. Right? What's your schedule to do what you're doing? Write it down. Write down what it takes. And if you're going to be an open air preacher and what tools do you need to get that done as well? And see, that's what you begin to do. Okay, so I'm going down to the Falcons game. I just need to get down there. I really don't give a lot of tracts. I just needed a Bible and I need to get down there. I could ride the MARTA, no problem. I don't know. MARTA was probably $2 one way. You get a MARTA card for $50-$60 a month. And see, all of a sudden I can explain what it costs me to get down there and back for 30 days. What's it cost you to Christianize Hickson? You see what I'm saying? I talked about Josh in Normal, Illinois. What does it cost him? What's his schedule? What's it cost him to Christianize Normal, Illinois? Give me the schedule. Write it down. Don't say, well, I'm going to go to festivals and, and generalities. Hey, on May 1st weekend in Atlanta was the Music Midtown for several years until guys shut it down. I think the last weekend in June in Piedmont Park, where Music Midtown was too, in Atlanta was Cape Pride weekend. That was on the same weekend every year for 4 or 5 years. The Falcons, you knew when that was going to be, and a lot of things routine. New Year's Eve downtown, Phillips Arena for 3 years in a row. You had like some of these, what's that phrase? Like a Grateful Dead kind of band come in there. I can't remember what they were called. But anyway, see what I'm saying? Break it down. Think it through. We talked a minute ago. You're preaching for the glory of God, for the salvation of sinners. Right. Okay. Where are you going to do it and how are you going to do it? Tell me where you're going to do it. How are you going to do it? You're going to have a Bible. You're going to have an app. You're going to meet people in the coffee shop. You don't want to be an open air preacher and you want to spend your life witness to people one-on-one. Okay. Where are you going to do it? Where are you going to go? How are you going to do it? Where are you going to set it up at? It's very simple stuff. This is the schedule. You got to write it down, break it down. And once you get the schedule down, think it all through, then you can come up with a budget to fund the schedule and the work of the ministry. Hopefully that makes sense. If you'll do it, it makes sense. And see, what you have to do here is overcome all this angst and apprehension about fully writing this stuff down. Because once you get in the ministry, man, I'm telling you, one thing that happened to me is once I got in it, man, my head was spinning. It was on go all the time. And I could not think about anything else. It was really, really hard for me to shift gears, really hard. So the advantage here, if you're listening to this right now, is that you have the time right now before you move into this work full time to do this planning. Because once you get into it, man, and the trauma of unsaved people and their attitudes towards the gospel hits you and all this other stuff, man, I tell you what, for me at least, it was more than I could take. Praying all the time, preaching all the time. Oh man, it's just such an intense situation. You need so breaking it down now, writing it down now, getting it funded now. So important. So like at Crew, Charlie Berry, one of the top trainers, is a friend. He came and trained us quite several years in a row. The Whitfield training. They make their people get funded before they start. You say, well, what's the point of that? Well, I'm telling you what the point of that is, because once you get into it, the ministry work overtakes you. And what you want to do then, once you get funded and you get into it, then that's sort of maintenance work as well. And that then you get into writing newsletters and other stuff to communicate with your ministry partners. So what is your schedule? What you're going to do? What does it take for you to fulfill your vision? What is your schedule? What schedule is required? What do you need to fulfill your vision? A couple more points from me. I'll see if I can stop at 15 minutes. See, what I learned to do is to find festivals. I would get on the internet and look up concerts in the area. I'd look up festivals in the area. I look up sporting events in the area. I learned to find large groups of people. And I learned, the Lord teaching me through this process, what to avoid. Hey, this event is not going to be a big event. They might give it a lot of attention and, on the Georgia World Congress Center website, but you're not going to have a lot of people there. They're not going to be out front milling around. But this event, and if they're going to, like at the Georgia World Congress Center, on a bowl game, they would close off the road in front of the World Congress Center. And once they did that, once they closed off that road, hey, now that was going to be a street party. That was going to be a good place to be. So you learn to pick up clues, where to go to find the people to hear the gospel. Where were the major outdoor community events for me? I learned to find them, to look for them and understand what was not going to be a major outdoor event. And so you learn all those lessons when you start going through the schedule to get to the people you want to get to. So again, what is your schedule to accomplish what you want to accomplish? How are you going to do what you're going to do? Like, where are you going to go? What are you going to do? To who are you going to reach? What is the schedule, and where do you need to be to do that? And write that down. Write it down as many details as possible. And then the reason I gave you that example about looking for festivals, look for things 3 months, 4 months, 12 months out. Get at least a 12-month schedule. If you got fully funded today, where are you going to do? Where are you going to go in the next 12 months? And who are you going to reach? So if you have a vision, have a schedule, and somebody says, hey, I'll give you $100,000 a day so you can go out and preach today, you're ready to go. You're not just still spinning around, thinking these general thoughts. So what's your schedule to fulfill your vision? Write it down. 12 months out, and be as specific as possible. Call me 423-724-7500, 423-724-7500. Let's talk about it.